How's it going, everybody? I'm Ryan from Hellcat Design USA. Today we're actually going to be going over a couple things. I'm going to be doing a hand holding the world setup so that we can use it for a 3D print file for later. It's not going to be the world, it's going to be the moon, actually, sorry. Sorry I haven't been on in a while. I've actually been kind of busy doing other stuff. But in the meantime, oh, wait, I got those right in front of my face. Hold on one sec. Let's move those over. Okay, screencast keys. Oh, gotta kind of have the panel open, don't I? And we're gonna move those over to, let's say, other side. Okay, there we go, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Alright, so I did a tutorial previously on MakeHuman on how to import models for working on in Blender, but I'll go over a quick recap of we're going to do that. I'm going to save everything to my desktop. Say go to female, mid-age, just I'm going to leave everything the same because we're only going to be using the hand and arm of the model itself. So after that, we go to, let's see, I think it's, yeah, up here in the top corner, there's a little file. I'm going to export, and then I'm going to change this to an OBJ. It's just easier to get an OBJ file in. And then after that, we're going to click on these little buttons up here, and choose where we're going to put this. And I'm just going to slap it on my desktop there. And I'm just going to name it a.obj. Okay, and then we know where it's going, so I'm just going to hit over here on the other side, export, and then I exported it to my desktop. I'm going to open Blender up now, and what I'm going to do is get rid of everything in here. So, A, X, delete everything. Now I'm going to go to File, Import, and we're going to import that OBJ file. Let's see, where is it? OBJ. From my desktop, a.obj. Make sure you grab the OBJ, not the MTL file. Import that, and you should get something that looks like this. Okay. After that, I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Oh, make sure you click on it. Tab to go into edit mode, so we get all the vertices. I'm going to come up to the arm here, right on where it joins, before it starts to bend for the elbow. Actually, I'm going to grab one up further from that. I'm going to hit X, and we're going to delete those vertices. Now I'm going to hit A to grab everything, and then I'm going to hold Shift and L and just grab this arm right here, because there's also multiple, like the eyes, and the eyes have multiple layers, so if you just delete one thing, it's going to still leave you the eyes, so I just grab everything, and then Shift L to degrab the arm, hit X, delete vertices. Okay. Now we're going to want the arm on the point of origin. Just makes it easier when we're relating the meshes, or sorry, the armature that we're going to be adding in here in a little bit. And then, so yeah, what we're going to do is I'm going to hit A again to grab everything, hit 1 on my number pad, and then I'm going to rotate by hitting R. And then I'm going to hit 3 on the number pad, rotate that again, like that, grab it, break it down here, by there, hit 1 again, and then GX to there, and then we're going to rotate, hit by hitting R, and then on the Z axis, I'm going to hit R and then Z, and then we're going to rotate it 90, but that looks like the back of the hand, so we're going to hit negative on the number pad, okay. And then you get this right here. After that, I'm going to get out of edit mode here and take a look at my hand. Hit 1 on my number pad, make sure it's in the right direction because I want it facing me there. And I'm going to go back in edit mode by hitting Tab. Grab this bottom layer. I'm going to hit E and Z to extrude on the Z axis. And I'm going to hit SZ to scale it, and then hit 0 on my number pad, and that is going to scale it down to the 0 or the flat on the bottom there for the Z axis. Now we're going to be adding in a subdivision surface on this, so what I'm going to also do is I want this edge to be a little bit sharper. So I'm going to hit EZ, extrude on the Z-axis to pull that out a little bit, and then I'm going to move under here, hit my point on my number pad just to center myself out. E again, and then scale that down just a little bit. After that I can just add in a face, it's not a big deal after that. Alright, next we're going to come over to the modifier panel and add in a subdivision surface modifier that will smooth out the hand and make sure all the hand moves correctly when we do this. And you can turn this up to 2 to 4. I usually run about 3, but 2 to 4 is fine. If you run 2, you still have enough vertices to do that. But I usually run on 3. Okay, and then after that, we're actually going to apply that. So in Blender 2.9, now you, instead of it actually being a button you push, you actually have to come over here, click on that, and apply. Okay, so now that that's applied, I can hit 1 on my number pad, Control A, and then we're going to come down to Armature, right there. After I add in my Armature, oh wait, which is not on 0, so I'm going to hit X and delete that armature real quick, and then I'm going to hit Shift C to center everything back down to 0 origin, and I'm going to hit Shift A and then add in an armature. And next we're going to, since we can't see it, we're going to want to actually move it in to where we want it. So I'm going to come up to the little box here for the armature itself. What is that? The object itself, and then go down to where it says viewport display. Oh, down. I might be blocking it over here. Let's move over. Oh, move over the wrong way. So there's viewport display over here. We're gonna want, there's gonna be show name. We're gonna want in front, because we're gonna want it in front of what we're looking. All right, and then that'll make it easier to work with. Okay. And after that, I'm going to make sure it's still on 1. And then I'm going to tab to go into edit mode. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, I'm actually going to center this a little better, my arm here. So I'm going to go into edit mode and grab everything and just move it over to where the bone and everything is pretty much centered in the arm at the start. That's what we want. All right. Now I'm going to grab my armature again. And I'm going to go to tab to go into edit mode. Grab this top little ball, hit G. Bring it up to where the wrist is. Grab it right about there. Hit E again. Off of that ball. And right there. E and E. These aren't going to be perfect because it's going to be straight. And we're going to fix that in a minute. And then same thing for the finger. Grab the ball. Hit E. 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 Ball. E. Oh man, that's ball E, ball E. Yeah, sorry. There and there. Just keep grabbing this ball in the center for the wrist and just hit E to extrude it out to where you want it. E again to extrude from that one, and that one. And each and every finger, or each and every joint on the finger, sorry. So that looks good, right? That looks about right, right? Not. Alright. So first of all, I usually start when I do hands with the knuckle, where the knuckles are, and then I'll work from there. So since we have it in front, it sticks out on everything and we can actually kind of see where it is. It also makes it a little easier if I come out of edit mode and click on my hand here. And since we imported an OBJ, it also imports the skin textures to it, so I'm just going to get rid of those. So there's no more skin textures, and you can actually see the edge a little better for me. Well, it's easier for me. So then I'm going to grab my armature, go back in edit mode. I'm going to start grabbing the balls of the end of the armature, and I'll look in the bottom here and move. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Grab that. Sorry. And we're going to move that right where the joint is. So I'm going to look around the mesh here where the pinky joint is. Want to get it nice and centered. also up closer to the ball. Because if you notice on your hands, when you move them based off of the top of the fingers, not the bottom. The bottom are actually just the softer muscle that bends and all that fun stuff. So we're going to want the armature on the outside part of the hand usually. Just not, it doesn't have to be completely on the outside of the hand, but we want it on the closer to the edge of the hand so that when we do go to bend things, it actually bends the way it's supposed to. So when you do this, try to make sure that you're closer to the top part of the hand or the back side of the hand. And then we're going to do the same thing with all of, oh, I hit F again. I need to stop doing that. Sorry. Let me hit Control Z and get rid of that. And hit G, move that up to there. Make sure you don't grab the whole armature like I just did there. Grab that, move that up to there, that right there, and bring this one down over here. We're going to end up moving that one a lot more. So if you notice the finger's a little high, I'm going to bring that down to where the joint is, the finger. Same for all the fingers, just want to grab them and move them generally where the knuckle is there. Move it around, make sure it stays nice and centered where the joint's supposed to be. And on the back side, closer, looks like I need to bring my middle finger here up a little. Oh. And this one too. And it looks like I also want to bring that pointer finger down just a touch. Because the knuckles, if you notice, are below the center bend line of that, and it will actually make it look really good when you do that. Alright, so this one does not look centered. Let's get that. All you're going to try to do is get it in the, make sure it's in the center of where the hand is. And that looks good for the first set. Now I'm going to go through each finger and grab balls. Just move them to where the joints are on the actual finger. Like I said, I generally try to go towards the top, a little bit in so the armature stays inside. And grab that to the tip. And like I said, this is the tedious part of all this. The rest of the stuff is generally pretty easy. It might be a little taxing on your computer, but as long as you got a little patience, it's worth it to make some pretty cool 3D stuff you can put out there. And we're just going to move around, make sure that finger looks good, centered, not sticking out anything. And we're going to do the same thing on all the joints here. Grab them, just move them to where the pivot is in the finger. Super easy. And then make sure they're centered to where the knuckles are and the finger. And bring that one over the middle of the finger. I think you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here, just moving the armature around till it looks good to where it'll look like it'll bend correctly. It doesn't, does not have to be absolutely perfect, but I try to get it as close as possible. It just makes it easier because there's also more vertices around the bends on these, which actually makes it easier. Which is one of the nice things about having that file. There we go. Alright, using MakeHuman for this. So that seems to be pretty straight on that. Let's go over here. Good there. I'm also going to want to do the same thing with the ball for the wrist. I'm also going to grab that one and move it back, because same thing for your wrist. The pivot is on the back side of your wrist, not on the front. The front does bend back, but it's still, the bone is right here. So we're going to still want that ball closer to the back. The bottom one we do want to leave in the middle of the arm. Now if you want to get, if you want it to stretch correctly, like if you're going to be twisting the arm, I would suggest moving this bone over and adding in a second bone to this, link another bone to this. So it'll twist, but we're not going to be twisting anything today, so I'm not going to worry about it. Just got a single bone running through. And then we're going to work on the thumb. Oh wait, the pointer. Okay. So So all the rest of those look pretty good for the middle finger. Okay, that looks good for that. So I'm gonna grab that ball. And then anytime you wanna, what I like to do, this is just a personal preference, but if you come over to Edit, go down to Preferences, and for the, what is it, navigation, is it not? Zoom to mouse position, this little tab right here is one of the things that I always make sure I click on anytime I add in a new Blender. That just means I zoom in to wherever my mouse is positioned, and that's super helpful. So just want to give you that little tip in case you did not know. I'm going to grab the knuckles. Oh, and you also want to hit point on your number pad to center where you're at. There. Oh, no, leave that alone. That one. Put that up there. So this one, that finger. Over. Make sure you just position it where the knuckles are. Actually grab this one, move it over a little bit. Alright, now the only finger that I actually found when I was doing hands to be the little bit trickier one was the thumb, just because the start joint on people's thumb is actually kind of different of where it actually starts on this rotation, so it could be all the way down here or all the way up here. So generally when I do this, what I'll look for is as I move around the hand, you'll notice it bulges right here. So right on the bottom of that bulge, like right as it starts to go into the tuck, is where I'll try to put this ball closer to the same thing, close to the outside. And then we'll move the rest of these and see how that looks. Grab that, bring it up to the middle of there, grab that, bring it up to the thumb there. And move that in. Move that right there. Just move around, position them where you think it looks good, and then keep moving around until you have good centering on all that. I said I want to bring that out a little bit. Kind of straight. If you look at where the wrist starts, I kind of want to try to do it straight from there to where that first point is, and then I go up to the second knuckle. I notice when I watch a lot of tutorials and stuff like that, a lot of them, this position will be more up here. The reason I don't like that is because when you go to bend the thumb, it brings in this whole section here in kind of not the right way with how hands normally bend. So like I said, I generally try to put it right, I'll look right here and I'll try to put it right on the edge of that bulge, and I'll try to keep it, you know, generally pretty straight with that. Let's move that down a little bit right there. Because what we want is when this bone moves, we want this section right here to move. When this bone moves, we want the rest of that section to move. And if you do automatic weights, it'll do it pretty well. So now that we got our bones in position and everything looks generally okay, I got it, looks pretty good. Everything's set. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of edit mode, select my hand, and then holding shift I'll select my armature, and then I'll hit N. Oh wait, sorry, I'll hit Control P. Did I hit Shift P? Sorry, Control P, and that'll bring up the parent settings. And then what we're going to do is, since we were clicked on the armature there, Control P again, we can do automatic weights. And what that'll do is that'll automatically set the weight to the bone, to the area of the mesh surrounding it, in comparison to the last bone. Okay, so we're going to click on that. It's going to load for a second, and then once it loads, we can go into, oh, get the white screen. I always just click on the white screen just to let it run out. There we go. All right, and now we have a parented bone to it. Okay, so now I can click on the, make sure I click on the armature there, click on object and pose, and if I grab one of these bones here, and then let's say I rotate it, I get a bending of the hand. And if I want to grab this one and rotate it up towards that one, I can move it a little closer if the fingers are bent and stuff like that, but we're not going to be bending those outward that way. So I'm going to pull this one back right there. All right, now now we have to move on to the next part. Okay, so I come up here, go back to object mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click A and grab everything, and then hit M to move it to a new collection. And we're just going to call that collection hand. Okay. And then the hand. Oh, and if you also notice, the armature or the mesh for the armature, or mesh is now in the armature because now it is grouped to that armature, so that's where that is. So we're there. I can actually get rid of hand for a second and then click on collection to make sure that I'm on that one. And then now I'm going to add in a UV sphere. Alright. And then I'm going to click on the little tab down here. And this you can turn up 96 and 64 are good. I'm going to do 128 and 96. Give myself a nice smooth ball. You can do a little bit lower than that if your computer can't handle it. We're going to be doing a displacement map on the side of this ball, so you're going to want to make sure that you have enough vertices to make it look good. Come up to object, go down to shade smooth, so we have a nice smooth ball now. And then after that, we're going to come over to our modifiers panel. After that, we're going to click on modifiers, same thing as before. We're going to add subdivision surface. And I'm going to turn this up to 3 for now. And then I'm going to close it. And I'm going to add in another modifier. Underneath, we want to make sure subdivision or the modifier panel works as a layered thing. So whatever is on top is in charge. So if I have the displacement above the subdivision surface, the displacement will work before the subdivision surface, so it will subdivide after the fact. Generally, when you do subdivision surfaces, you want to make sure that the subdivision is above the whatever other modifier you're doing. So we're going to click on modifier again and come over to displacement, or displace, sorry. And then the first thing that I do before I do anything is I turn the strength down to usually 0.025. That makes it not whatever displacement we're doing not stick out so much. To start off with, I also come up to coordinates and click on UV coordinates and UV map. Where it says UV map, just click on the UV map. It creates an auto-generated UV map for that. And then after that, I will click new, and then come over to the little panel over here, show texture and texture tab. Click on that, and then what I'm going to do is now if you're going to be using a world texture, you can go download from Google or from NASA's website the displacement maps or the black and white images of planets or height maps if you want to, or whatever you're using. I'm going to be using the moon today, so I just went on Google and looked up moon displacement map from NASA, and I found, what was it, this one right here, if I'm not mistaken. This is a decently large image. It came out to this is an 8K image. You don't need to get the 8K image. 1920 by 1080 is fine. But yeah, this is the one I picked up just for this tutorial today. So we're going to add that to it. I saved that to my desktop, so I know where it is. So I'm going to come over to open, and then go to my desktop here and find the moon image. Open image. And since I have it set to small, you can kind of see how the moon is set. So what I'm going to do is go back to my modifier panel. I might actually turn this up to, let's say, 0.03. Take a look at it then. Actually, let's turn this up a little more. Let's say 0.01. Oh wait, not 0.01, 0.1. Sorry, I meant to say 0.1. Oh wow, see, that's way, way, way too much. So we're going to go down to 0.05. Oh, still too much. Point. Let's see. 0.03. Oh, I did too many points. Point. Oh. Oh, I guess I got a sticky key. Didn't realize. 03. Alright. And sometimes what you'll have is the darker part of the image will be lower. So what you'll see is the dark section will be lower than the white section. You can also reverse that by putting that as a negative. So I'll say negative 0.03, and then it'll just reverse it so the tops are low. You know what I mean? Instead of bumps being out, they'll be in. It just reverses it for you. After that, I'm actually gonna put that back. So let's say 0.03. Leave that. Okay, so now we need to figure out which part of the moon is actually facing us like we usually do. So I'm going to go over to textured view, actually rendered view maybe, and then add in a, let's add in a light real quick. Just a sun lamp. Okay, there we go. We're going to rotate that up. Take a look at this and keep rotating that lamp around. Alright, so it looks like around here, so that'll be nice. You know, you'll have some texture of the moon, whatever faces us that the hand is holding, so that should be facing correct. So if I hit 1, actually no, I'm going to rotate that on Z. I'm going to rotate moon on Z until it looks like it's about right. So it's facing forward. So I'm just going to hit 1 on my number pad. That'll always make it face forward. Alright, now I don't need that light anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, now I'm going to go back into solid mode here. And we're going to bring our hand back in. We'll grab our moon. Hit 3 on my number pad. I'm just going to grab my moon and where my wrist is. I'm going to put it right there. Right above where my wrist is, probably. Good idea. Alright. About there is pretty good. Alright, next I'm going to grab my armature here. And then I'm going to go into pose mode. So we'll come up to here to pose. And first of all, I want the arm to be leaned back a little so that it looks more natural. So I'll just hit 3 on my number pad and just tilt back a little bit. And then I'm going to grab all my the base bones from my fingers here. 3 on my number pad again, and we're going to rotate those until the palm is about hitting. Okay, so we want the palm nice and hitting, and we're going to start wrapping the fingers around right now. So first of all, the pinky, grab the pinky bone. We'll grab that base bone and just rotate that in a little bit. And then this bone, rotate that in a little bit. We're also going to want to try to make sure we're straight. Other fingers. Until it's touching, we can see it touching. Let's rotate that hand in just a touch more. You can kind of see it touching. Okay, got that bent just a little much, so I'm going to bring it back. We're going to do this with all the fingers, just move it in so that the fingers are inside of, the hand is definitely inside of the moon texture because we don't want any output, or we don't want any mixed spots. So when it goes to apply itself to that, it'll look good. Alright, so you're also going to notice sometimes that your fingers don't look quite right because if you're like this, your fingers are bent around. So if you grab the base finger and just rotate that, hit Y and Y again, it'll rotate it based off of the Z-axis, the original Z-axis. So I'll just rotate that in just a little bit. Also going to bend this finger out a little bit so it's not so much in there. Same as the tip. And now we have a good looking finger. And we can rotate that one out. Start Oh, and then start rotating that. Oh, let's move the big one in a bit more. Make sure that's in there. Rotate that. And you can also grab that one. R, Y, Y. Tilt it a little bit so it's straighter. And then we're going to bend it in until it's in it. Okay. Grab the knuckle here. Take that in a little bit. Okay. Alright, now all we're doing is just moving the bones around to where it looks like it's grabbing. That's all we'll get over to the thumb in a second. If you want, you can also tilt this pinky out a little more, so it's like, you know, more out instead of up. You know, oh, it's out instead of like that. But I'm just going to do it like this. Grab this bone. Actually, I'm going to grab that bone, rotate it in a little bit. That bone, rotate it in. And then that bone, rotate that in. That bone, rotate that in. And it looks like I need to come in a little bit more on this bone. And rotate it out right there. I'm also going to rotate this one out a little bit. And I'm going to pull that out just a touch there. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing for the pointer. Grab the main bone, rotate that in until that's hitting, rotate that in until that looks like that's hitting. And then same with all the other ones. Rotate all of them just a little bit so it looks like it's got some curve to it. Also going to hit R, Y, Y again on that one, and we're going to rotate the finger so it's out a little bit because I'm also going to rotate the finger out just like that. And we'll move the middle one over just a little bit. And now time for the thumb. So the thumb we can grab there. So when I rotate this one, I won't rotate this base bone, I'll rotate this base bone. So R, Y, Y. And we'll rotate that till it's level with the moon there. And then I'll grab that bone, rotate it out a little bit. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to come up. If you come up and you hit the little eye on the armature, you'll hide the armature, but the hand will still be there. And that's what we want. Alright, so if you notice the corner, the one thing I've always noticed that the corner of the wrist here will always be a little bit messed up. So what I'll actually do is I'll grab that arm right there, and I'll come over here in the top to the, what is it, sculpting mode. And then I'll come up, and usually if you have an armature on it, because it's still linked to that armature, it'll still be bent in the correct position. So all we have to do is come over here and come over to clay, little third button down here, and just add a little more right here, just go back and forth around the hand where it bends, just left and right. Want to add some more girth to it, and looks like a little more right there. Give it some more where, give it, pretty much just add some where it looks like it needs it just a little bit, so add some there. So add a little more over here. This is a little low. Okay. I know it looks bad, but we're going to come over to smooth, and I'm going to back up and just smooth out what we just did. Right around there. Smooth that out a little. And there we go. You can probably spend a little more time smoothing it out, making sure that everything's good. Also, just take a look around it, make sure everything looks good, your fingers are in correctly, and looks like it's actually holding it. Sometimes I'll actually even go inside of the moon, take a good look around at how it's connecting, if anything should come in a little bit more. Everything looks good. You can see how the whole hand is in here. That's good. Alright, everything looks good so far. Alright. So there's a couple things you can do from here. First of all, we're going to go back to layout to where we were. Take a look at our nice hand that's attached. Like I said, you can come in and smooth out some of these areas if they're if they don't look correct, or you know what I mean, add in and take out what you want. But that looks pretty good so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come over to my modifiers here, and I'm going to apply them in order from top to bottom. Like I told you before, modifiers work on stacked mode, so from top to bottom. So I'm going to come over here to apply. This is going to take a second just because it's got to load that up. And then same here, apply. And now your displacement for your moon is there, you don't have to worry. Now for this, because it's attached to an armature, we're just going to grab the hand here, come over to armature, and apply the armature. Now I don't need the armature anymore, so I'm actually going to click on it. We're going to grab that, and we're going to move that to our normal collection. So it's there now. And then I can delete the armature for the hand, and now these two are in the same file, or in the same section, and they're there. Okay, we have our hand and our sphere. Alright, now after that we're going to create a real quick base for it, and that's going to be what we attach everything to. So I'll hit one on my number pad, click on the hand here, go into edit mode. I'm not actually going to worry about that. Normally I'd take this and try to flatten this back out, but since we added that modifier, now it's got a ton of looped vertices and stuff, and we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Shift A. Oh wait, first, since that's up there and that's right there, I'm going to hit Shift C, center everything, and then Shift A, and then we're going to bring in a circle. I'm going to turn the vertices up on the little tab down here up to, say, 64. 64 or 96. Either. I mean, I like to go up in the scaling of it. So 96, that looks good. And then I'm going to hit Control 7 on my number pad, and that's going to put me in the top view. Because what I'm going to want to do is I want to make sure that if this is going to be the base for it, that it is centered with the weight so that it doesn't tip over easily. So I'm just going to go into edit mode here, GY, just move that into position, just make sure that that's centered with the ball. You can make it a little bigger, a little smaller if you want, you know, just hit scale. Alright, and then from there I'm going to hit E and extrude that, and then right click, and then snap that back to there, and then hit S again. And I'm going to scale this in, and then I'm actually going to move this circle around to where it's inside of that, the armature there. So I'm going to hit S until it's about the right size, and then I'm going to hit F just to face that center. And now I'm going to hit G and then Shift Z because I don't want it to move on the Z axis, and I'm just going to move it over in position so that it's underneath the hand and it's centered. So I'm also going to go to edit mode and hit GZ, bring it up over the whole arm there, go back out of edit mode, make sure that that's all inside, and then I'm going to hit hold Alt, grab the outside of there, hit one on my number pad, and I'm going to extrude it below. I'm going to hit E and Z, extrude it below where the hand is, hit F. Okay, I can change the depth of this later. And then next I'm going to grab my hand. Actually, I'm going to come over here and rename it hand by clicking on, making sure I click on the hand, come over to the object, and then click. And then we are going to call this, instead of sphere, we're going to call this moon. Okay, and then I'm going to hit H, and that's going to hide it. H, and that's going to hide that. I want to hide both of those for the current moment. After that, I'm going to grab my base here, and I'm going to come over to Modifier, add Modifier, and then we're going to add in a Boolean modifier, which is going to attach the two items that we're going to add on. So we're going to do union, fast. You can do fast or exact, whichever one actually works. If you're having issues with one, you can try the other, just go back and forth. I usually find the fast solver works a little better for me, so that's the one I usually go with. If it doesn't work, I'll switch back over. So the first object that's going to be coming off of this is going to be the hand, so we're going to come over to Object and click on Hand. And that is going to attach the hand. And we don't hit difference because difference will cut it out. Union will union that to basically attach them together. And then intersect will only allow your part to be, how do I explain this? It'll only align itself around the actual model that you put in. So out of that whole model that you put in, it'll only interact or intersect with that. So we're going to go with union because that's what we're going to go with here. That looks good. Everything looks good. So we can come over here and hit apply. So that's now applied. Next we can take that and go over and hit another Boolean modifier. And then we're going to do fast. I'm going to turn that to 0. And then we're going to do the moon this time. This may take a second because it's bigger. See, it didn't work that time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. If I hit exact, it should work though. And if it doesn't, you can also move it around so it does work. Alright, so this is loading. Give it a second. The fun part is having a computer, even a decent computer, that still takes a second to do some of these things, some of these files and some of the things that we do in here. So there we go. Oh, I have it set to difference, that's probably why. See, that's things you gotta notice. Okay, so I gotta change that to union, and my screen will go white until it loads, so just give it 2 seconds, and it should pop up again. Or not, it's got a lot of vertices to it, so it might take a second. So let's just wait for this. Oh, I don't think it loaded. Oh, yeah, it didn't load. See, the more vertices you have in your original sphere and the subdivision surface, every time you add a subdivision surface, it adds, or every time you add another subdivision surface layer, it doubles the amount from the last one it currently had. So if you add 2, it's actually 4 times the size, so it takes a second. Alright, there we go, finally it kicked on. Alright, so now we have our moon and our hand, and everything looks good. Let's go inside of it. And it looks like hand is cut out of the edge, so that's good. Everything looks good there. Everything looks good there. Let's come down to where the hand is to make sure the hand attached correctly. So I'm gonna kind of position myself around until I get 0 on my number pad and zoom in. Okay, so I want to look inside just to make sure there's no meshes, no exterior meshes that are interacting with each other, because that would be bad when you go to do your 3D print. Okay, so after that I can go into edit mode here or go over to my modifier panel here and apply my modifier that I just added. So same thing, probably going to take a second to load to make sure, because this is going to actually physically apply it into the editing settings and all that stuff. So this is actually physically applying what we just did. And give it a second. Always, I don't know why I always click for the white screen. And there we go. It is applied. Now, normally what I like to do is I'll actually take this and I'll hit H to hide it. and then come over to hand and the moon, the ones that we previously made. And just to cut down on file size, I'll delete them. And then you can I'll shift C and make sure everything's centered. So that the only thing left is your circle, because the more vertices that are in the file, that actually is worse for it, you know, for your saving it for later. And now I also want to cut this bottom part off. And there's a couple ways to do it. You can go into edit mode and grab those vertices and then bring them up. The issue with that is because there are so many vertices up in this top section here that's it might slow your computer down. Another suggested way is by adding in a cube here, scaling it down, and GZ, and we're gonna move that to where it's like shorter, so the platform is actually smaller. Hit scale, and then remember Shift Z to scale it on everything but the Z axis. So there we go. We have a nice thin platform for us there. So it'll be looking like it's coming out of the table a little bit, or wherever you have it stand it at. All right, and then I can click on, or then I'll hit H to hide that. Click on my thing here, and then we're gonna add in another Boolean, and this is gonna be difference this time. Fast. Turn that down to 0, and then I'm gonna add in that cube. And that should just easily cut off the bottom and make it a little bit faster. Than having to go to edit mode with all the extra vertices and stuff like that. So that's also a little help you can just add in to cut out stuff, and like I said, you can also come in and take some time and smooth out the edges a little bit more and make sure that everything is correct. But now we have a 3D printable hand that can go onto the moon that we can export out as an STL file. So from there, since we want to make sure that stays cut off, I'm going to do the same thing. Apply that, and then add my cube back in, and I'm just gonna grab my cube, delete it, and now we have that file ready to go. So I can also, let's rename that from circle to hand moon. Okay, and then after that, now, if you haven't enabled it yet, there is a 3D print add-on. So you come up here to Edit, Preferences, come up to Add-ons, and then you can, up here you can type in, what is it, 3D, it's not 3D print, actually, it is a 3D print panel. But I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. It is, I thought it was the 3D print panel. Hold on one sec. So let's just type in PRI. Yeah, there it is. Mesh 3D print toolbox. So it's in there. Just type in PR and print 3D print toolbox will come up. And you want to make sure you click on that add-on if you are doing STL files and stuff like that for 3D printing. So you can just click on that and it'll add it over here on the side panel here for you. And then since it's already on for me, I can click on that file. Also click on the export. Change where your export is to where you want it. I'm going to want this on the desktop. And then since we have it hand moon, we can set it to that. And we also want to make sure that it's about the same size as what we want it for the 3D print itself. Now I have a couple A8 pluses, and they have 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters by 350. But I don't want this to be that big. So I'm actually going to just scale it up to a generally appropriate size. So I'm going to come over to item. Oh, actually, first what I want to do is I want to come over to the scene settings here. Or the scene properties, sorry. And then come over to where it says units. Change that from metric or imperial to none. That just makes it easier because this is now set in millimeters. So whatever your object is, it's set. Z is 4 millimeters, but it's only 2 millimeters wide. It's super tiny. So we're going to want to scale it up. So I'm going to hit S. We're going to scale that until we get to a good size here, say, let's say 200 on the z-axis, around there should be good. There we go. Alright, after that, I'm going to hit, what is it? Control S, or Control A, sorry, Control A, and we're going to apply all transforms. That's going to do the location, rotation, and scale. It's going to do all transforms, so it's all going to turn out to be the scale of 1 instead of however big we just had it. And this is the actual dimensions of the file, or the item itself. Alright, after that, after we know it's about the right size and we have a good idea of what we want, we can come over to 3D print here. Now, I don't really mess with any of the settings for like the analyze part of it. The only part that I really mess with is where I'm going to be putting it, which is the little file here. You can click on that and put it wherever you want to, and make sure that the format is set to STL. You could also do it as an OBJ, but some slicing programs have problems with OBJ and how the file structure is. STLs do it in a triangular form, so generally speaking, everything is in it breaks it down into triangles instead of squares. So if there are squares, it'll turn it into a triangle and try to break it up more, which is better for the files. So I'll keep this with STL instead of OBJ. OBJ also lets in more round structures. But yeah, let's turn it to an STL file, and then once we know where we're going to put it, we're going to hit export, and we're going to give it a second until it exports out to our desktop there. Do the white screen. Oh, there it goes. And then it'll say down here, exported. So there we go for that. Next, I'm going to want to open my whatever slicing program you're using. I'm using Ideamaker currently, so we're going to be using that one. Go up here to the top, add, go to desktop where we have our file at, and we named it HandMoon STL right there. So we're going to open that one. Make sure it's the HandMoon or the file that you saved it as. Oh, and it looks like we do have an issue here. If you look at the base, you see when it's a different color like that, that means that the normal says that this is the outside and this is the red is what it's supposed to be. So that is wrong. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to X out of here real quick. I don't want to save that. And then I'm also going to go to my desktop here and delete, not those, but this one right here. Delete that. Okay, and then we're going to go back to Blender here, grab our file, and this might take a second for even for me. So I'm going to hit tab to go into edit mode because I do need to go into edit mode right now. I need to hit A to select everything. And I also have you can hit, I think it's F1 or F2. No, F3. Yes, F3. It'll bring up your search panel, so you can search for things. And then I'm going to do recalculate normals is what we're going to be looking for. So RECAL, recalculate. So this is for the mesh normals. We can also hit Alt-N. So let's just do that. Let's hit Alt-N. It'll bring up normals. We're going to do recalculate normals to the outside because if you're doing it inside, you're going to all the normals are going to be facing inside. We want all the normals to be facing outward, so all the normals to be facing in the same direction. So Alt-N, and we're going to recalculate outside. There we go. Click on that one. Oh. After that, we can hit tab to go back out of edit mode. And we're going to re-export that file. And you gotta wait until we get our little confirmation down here. Okay, we got our little confirmation. So now we're going to bring up Ideamaker, and that problem should be fixed. So we can open Ideamaker. I usually just X out of this screen. Open this up. Go up here to the top, hit add. Go to HandMoon the file that we had, import it, and that base should be good now. Loading files. Yep. There we go. All the file is correct. If you have any parts of the file that are yellow, that means that the normals are not correct. And as long as your file is a hard body model, or you don't have any overlapping parts of the mesh, like where the hand and the moon are, like let's say I had the inside of the hand still meshed to the moon, that would create a problem. We're gonna have some overhanging stuff, some bounding box stuff. Don't worry about that. I can come over here to repair and do a quick repair. Should take a couple seconds, and usually what that'll do is that'll go through and make sure that none of the vertices are overlapping each other or are too sharp for the actual code to understand. So it'll try to like smooth some things out. It actually makes it a little better. Once it's done repairing, should take a couple seconds. Depending on how many vertices are in your model and how tight those vertices are, this may take a second. Shouldn't take too long though. And there we go. Did not take long at all. Okay, so there's our moon. See all of our little textures for the surface of the moon. The hand is in the moon right there. We have our nice little base plate there. So obviously when you go to 3D print, you're going to have the base of the world is not going to obviously 3D print correct unless you have some type of support. Now most files all of the 3D printer programs have a support section where you can go into. So my support section is I usually have my pillar size around 5. 3, 5, and 10, depending on if it's a big model. So, but 5 is average what I use. My overhang angle is usually around 40 to 45 degrees, also depending. But we're going to want this at 45 degrees because we're going to want to make sure that we get all of the underneath mesh that's right here. All right, and also we don't want to have any areas with thin walls for like around the actual arm itself. We want to make sure we have a thin wall there. All right, so I always check thin walls, and I'm not doing touch platform only because we put our moon dead above our platform, no supports will go up where we need them. And so I'll do generate auto supports and give it a quick look just to make sure that the auto supports are where they're supposed to be. Again, this may take a second. Everything always takes a couple seconds. Always waiting on these programs to run, right? I noticed one of the times when I was doing renders when I first started, I had a little Toshiba laptop that really wasn't designed for that. It was more of just an internet type of you know, it wasn't really at all a workstation. And when I first started working with Blender and with, you know, rendering and stuff like that, and I remember literally setting up a simple render of a coffee cup spilling a little bit of water. And I remember it took me 2 days almost to just do everything and get everything baked out and everything ran and you know, all the water animation. And by the time it was done, I was so proud of it, just because it, you know what I mean, it takes so much to do, and I really do understand it takes so much to actually get these programs working smoothly and correctly. And you know, even even a more expensive computer, it still gets, you know, some of the scenes and stuff, you have to break them up and move them up, you know what I mean, and have them layered. And it's a lot of work that goes into the stuff that you know, making sure that all the models are correct and stuff like that. I'm just, like I said, this is just going in over the basics of how to do this, you know, and how I generally do stuff like this. So man, it's taking a long time for some supports. It usually doesn't take this long. Let's see. Oh man. Yeah. Let it generate these supports. Also, when building these types of models, take your time. Sometimes your settings, for instance, you don't have to apply the modifiers before you do the final product the way I did it with the moon in the hand. The armature you do have to apply, but the moon you do not have to actually apply the texture for the moon or anything else. Man, this is taking forever. The reason I apply them is because once they're applied, it makes it easier. All right. So first of all, I want to get rid of the ones that are up there. So I'm gonna go to remove here. Grab those little ones, get rid of those because those will end up being an issue later. That's fine. Thin one there. Let's go around the outside here. Some of these don't need to be there. I'm going to say some of the taller ones like that. On the outside, the moon's pretty decent. I mean, once it gets up to a certain point, these will be fine, so I don't need structures that are that high up. And I'll get rid of that one. And those three. And maybe that one. And that looks good. I know it's a lot of supports that are going to be coming up through here. Oh wait. Why does it look like that's missing? A section on the hand. Alright. I think that's fine. I think it's just some supports that are on the bottom there. Alright, and everything else should be fine, so we're going to start slicing. Now, I have templates for all my stuff. I also I change these around when I need to do ABS or any other type of materials. But generally speaking, the main things you're going to want to make sure that you worry about is your support type. I have it set to lines. You can use all of these. Lines tend to clean up easier for me with the PLA material. And then you also want to make sure that your layer is set to whatever layer that you want. So go over here to the top and go to layer and make sure that your layer is set to exactly what it is. Because even though I have them labeled, what it is, sometimes it won't save correctly, so when you reopen the file, it might, 1.6 might be actually 0.2, and you'll get the same results. So since this isn't going to be a perfect model, we can do 0.2. We already make sure everything's good for that. And then we're going to hit slice, and then it's going to slice and save the file, and then we can take a quick preview, and that'll be it. That'll be how to do this in Blender 2.9 and Ideamaker and MakeHuman. A lot of programs today. But pretty easy once you have the basics down. And this is it's funny because I've always noticed that the actual slicing section of it, the actual G code write of it, always takes not as much time as the actual saving of the file once it is done, the total file. So usually the slice is completed and then it'll do the saving and then the post-processing. Alright, so we're going to go over to preview because we want to see our file and see how it looks. And this also might take a second because I noticed that Ideamaker, the newer Ideamaker, the one, what is it, 4.11 is, or 4.1.1 is a little slower for the preparing the slice for the previews and stuff like that. It's not a big deal though. Let's give it a couple seconds here, let this load up. And there we go. So you can look at the top here and see that the infill is going to be yellow. The solid part of the fill is going to be red. Any bridge type items are going to be dark red. We're not going to have to worry about those. And the support is going to be blue. And then we're not going to have to worry about that. I can also show the travel. Oh. And we can also, what I'll do is I'll cut it down. So I have it set, my infill set to 20%. So inside should be about 20% infill on that. I also have the honeycomb structure set up inside of it. And the layered section. Hold on, let's go down a little bit. Okay, so you can see the bottom of the moon there is the outside coming in, and then you can start to see the layers for that come in. So let me move up here real quick, sorry, and then let's move this down, and then let's cut out the travel. You don't need to see the travel. So basically it starts the print at the base, does the base plate. Since the base is thinner, it's only what, 2, 3, 4 layers. It's gonna be thin, and then we have the supports come in. If you notice, we have one or two layers of the arm come in before the supports come in, and that's just the area so that the supports don't stick to the base there. That's all that is. And then we're going to come up, arm gets thinner, hand starts to come out, and then we see that that moon goes into the hand. Looks like everything is going to be good with the supports. We come down here and check this. I could have gotten rid of the supports that are on the back side of here, that are right all in here. I'm not too worried about those though. Those will be fine. After this is done, I'll be able to sand the arm out and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's literally it. We're done. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe to watch more. Also, just a little quick reminder, this is a generalization. I've had prints that say 36 hours and that have also taken way less time or way more time. So this will be 36 hours. I've had this go down to 30 hours to 45 hours. You know what I mean? This don't take literally your filament. As long as you put the right printer in your setup, you should have, this should be close to what it weighs. I've noticed the filament's actually pretty close. And the estimated price, don't even go off of that, because then you actually have to go off of your power consumption and all the other fun stuff, and so I wouldn't even worry about that. So don't even worry about all of these. This is just a generalization. Expect around 30 hours, 36 hours, 40 hours, you know what I mean, around in that time. So like I said, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Tell your friends. I'm going to be trying to put out more videos. Sorry I haven't put out a video in a while. I've actually been busy working on a few things. I've also been working on ASL, a 3D printed ASL model for some people and stuff like that. So pretty cool stuff, and I'm going to try to show you how to do hand gestures here coming up, and we're going to be also doing, I think I'm going to be showing you guys how to rig up, basically rig a body, and then I'll work into how to do movements and like keying so that you can have them walk, like repeatedly walk or repeatedly do a motion or something like that. But yeah, that's all going to be coming. I'm taking my time doing this because it's I have a lot of other stuff on my plate right now, and I'm just trying to get this done as fast as or trying to get this done while I'm working. So like I said, again, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Trying to make easy tutorials so people can figure out how to do some pretty cool stuff with Blender and with other programs like MakeHuman and Ideamaker. So, all right, thanks for watching.